Choi Young-wook informed Soo-min and Park Young-soo that they would be staying in the city for the meantime, so he told them to get some rest, but Young-soo explained to him that they did not plan on staying for long. Their plan was to leave as soon as they had water and food and figured out a means of transportation. Soo-min told Young-soo they should not only ask for necessities but also escorts and soldiers to fight alongside them since the city is large. Immediately after she finished the statement, she implored him not to reject the idea until he thought about it. Choi Young-wook feels Soo-min has said something reasonable, and he told them he will assist them with the entire city if they wish. Soo-min explained further that she knows he does not like involving innocent people, but he should take his time to think about it, even for that one night. After a while, Soo-min saw Young-soo sitting down on the pavement, drinking. She asked if he likes yellow peaches, and he answered that sugar helps the brain circulate faster, so he is only taking that to figure out how to eliminate the hero of the sword. Soo-min informed him she would like to know more about him and asked if she said that because she still suspects him and thinks of him as the same as other heroes. She explained that both of them did not know each other's names, and since they would be seeing each other more often, it would be awkward for him to call her khaki girl. She dared him to let them talk if he had conscience since he was the one who messed up her face. They both told each other their names, and that night, they both shared their feelings for the first and last time. While they were discussing Choi Young-wook, his team member was in the computer room listening to the conversation between Young-soo and Soo-min. Choi Young-wook asked the team member if it seemed Park Young-soo was completely on their side, and the team member answered yes, as he could not hear anything out of the ordinary in Young-soo's conversation with Soo-min. They can now rule out their suspicions against them at this rate. Park Young-soo makes the number of heroes the Reconstruction government has recruited 3 in total, and since Golem Hero and the Sea Dragon have died, they need to eliminate 7 more heroes, including Kim Min-soo. They are still at a disadvantage since it is 3 heroes on 7 heroes, but if they can eliminate a few more heroes, they would be able to go back to their old lives, where there is order, safety, and family. They can finally go back to that time. Choi Young-wook's female team member told him they were completely useless, but even though it was a bit early to start celebrating, he told them they had done well. All the people in the city have to try until the end. That night, the guardians of the small plot of land, not being able to predict the pitch-black darkness that was to come, also encouraged and praised each other for the first and last time. Suddenly, Choi Young-wook heard a sound, and he ran to check. Park Young-soo, sitting outside, also checked and saw that the hero of sword, Kim Min-soo, had landed in the city. But the city has not only received the hero of sword but also the hero of vampire, Hong Warang, the hero of faith, Baek Hana, the hero of magic, Ma Yi-rin, the hero of iron arm, Jong Eui-ho, the hero of martial arts, Cheon Ji-sung, the hero of reformation, Lee Jia-ram, and also the hero who had died 7 times trying to break through their defense system, Lee Sung-joon. The hero of the Reformation asked for the permission of the hero of the sword to proceed with the attack. He immediately set the buster mode and began firing heavily. Choi Young-wook ran into the computer room and asked the people in charge to intercept and activate all turret systems in the city. The people sat doing nothing. After ordering again and nothing happened, he came to realize that the power of the hero of faith was working on them, and that was why they refused to obey him. Choi Young-wook calls the soldiers to block the heroes using all forces available and protect the city by protecting the hero of revolt, because if they stop now, this will be the end of their nation. Unknowing to Choi Young-wook that the soldier he was contacting had been killed and the phone was with the hero of Iron Arm, hearing this, the hero launched his attack, and the Reconstruction Government Artillery Unit Cheon Mountainside got annihilated. The Special Agent Unit was well trained, and they managed to kill the hero of return, Lee Sung-joon, twice, but at the end, the Reconstruction Government's Special Agent Unit, Quan Bat, was annihilated. The Reconstruction Government Tactical Helicopter Unit Brown Crow was annihilated by the hero vampire, Hong Warang. 13,700 people were killed within 3 minutes and 17 seconds after the heroes entered the city. The hero of martial arts, Cheon Ji-sung, launched an attack with a Heavenly Demon defense system, and suddenly Park Young-soo jumped down powerfully. Park Young-soo faced Kim Min-soo and asked what he should do to the bastard who broke the cycle of sorrow, killed his family, took away his happy and normal life, and destroyed his world. He concluded that he killed Kim Min-soo right on the spot. Immediately he reached for his shield spear and Siley, ground spear Yeo Eui, holy spear Paolo, demon spear Daryl, flame spear Ignite, and ice spear Vassens. Alongside this, he took poison spear Skola, savage spear Batten, fragment spear Artier, and fragment spear Character. He activated the Holy Demon Attack System, Void Unity, and the hero of return, Lee Sung-joon, was cut into two. The hero of faith, seeing what had happened, felt the battle would be fun to watch, but the hero of martial arts decided to move before he got swept up in the battle. The two heroes faced each other squarely, and Kim Min-soo was attacked during the battle. That very instant he saw blood dripping in his nose and eyes. He thought that he would actually like to die in the hands of Park Young-soo, because he could see that Young-soo's eyes were as full of sorrow as his own. But Kim Min-soo changed his mind when he saw the slight chance of salvation that glimmered among the stained, pitch-black eyes of Young-soo, caused by murderous intent and vengeance. Kim Min-soo thought, "This bastard wants his salvation by killing me." The thought of Park Young-soo getting his happy ending by killing or becoming happier than he was made him furious. He raised the sword of Durant, he activated the eclipse mode, and they both fell to the ground. While Young-soo was thinking about his dead family, Park Min-soo was thinking about his dead parents and how he was kicked out by his uncle. Park Young-soo made up his mind to kill Park Min-soo no matter what, and he called onto the enchanted armored identum, the powerful evil intent towards one person, the goodness seraphine to bless, and the immeasurable hatred harbored against humanity. Both heroes stood up powerfully in their armor, ready to strike. A fierce battle began between them, and people watched the fight from afar. The hero of the sword, Kim Min-soo, whose every presence meant the opponent's imminent end, was struggling. One man was fighting off sorrow with his entire being. Choi Young-wook and his men came out to the battle, as he told his men their last resort was fighting the battle of a lifetime against the hero of sword. So, all of them must put their lives on the line and distract all the other heroes as much as possible. The weak decided to fight again, and with their great sacrifice, they decided to end the crazy world together. The men are faced with a monster with a lot of heads all over his body, and Choi Young-wook begins shooting. The hero of Iron Arm execution in an area was pretty much done, and since the battle was taking longer than expected, he felt it was time for him to step in. A soldier saw him leaving and tried shooting him from the back in order to stop him from leaving, but the hero Iron Man saw him and turned back to face him. The people living in the city saw the hero of vampires, Hong Warang, and they began cursing him to come and suck like blood like he used to. The hero of returning, Lee Sung-joon, was awake and was being strangled by one of the security guards. While the two heroes were fighting, the people lit a bottle and set the hero of reformation, Lee Jae-ram, on fire. Park Young-soo activated the Dragon Spear, Chachadir Inherent Ability, and Dragon Spirit, and he focused on ending his long-year nightmare. After applying the elements, electricity, ice, great earth, flame, atmosphere, and power explosion, Park Min-soo told him he was strong, but that's all he was. Park Min-soo took the sword of Durant, Daybreak mode. He launched a heavy attack on Young-soo and told him his sorrow was too shallow and evil could never defeat evil. Park Young-soo could not believe he told him his sorrow was shallow after the death of his family and the feeling of having his life trampled upon by the murderer, Park Min-soo. The hero of faith and the citizens of the city stood looking as the battle continued. Park Min-soo started beating Young-soo hard as he told him he was less unfortunate than he is. He told him he has a chance and can reach salvation, while he does not have the chance. That made him punch him real hard as Young-soo landed on the ground. Still on the floor, Park Young-soo asked him what he did to him and what the people did to him, but Park Min-soo dragged him with his head and told him they were all happier than he was. He poured out his anger, telling Young-soo they all eliminated him, no one wanted him, no one ever tried to understand him or try to embrace him. It angered him that the people dared to raise Park Young-soo as a beacon of hope and tried to break the cycle of sorrow that he had created. Jong Soo-min stood afar as she shot the gun she was holding towards Park Min-soo. She told Park Min-soo that Young-soo was their last hope, and Park Kim-soo answered back that if truly that is true, then her hope is a useless hope, like the hope that she can do something to him with the gun she was holding. Jong Soo-min replied that she did not have such hope, but someday, if they keep fighting back and revolting like they are doing now, she has faith that they will defeat the likes of him. The soldiers with Choi Young-wook were all killed mercilessly, some were cut in half, while others lost their arms and legs before dying in pain. Choi Young-wook stood up with one arm, as he had lost the other arm. He picked up the call he received, and a soldier told him the hero of the revolt, Park Young-soo, had retired. Choi Young-wook instructed the soldier to connect him to all speakers in the shelter, as he has something to say. Choi Young-wook began speaking, "Dear survivor and all able-bodied beings capable of fighting, listen, the hero of revolt, the idiot that was holding the spear, is our last ounce of hope. the army has collapsed, and we barely have any firearms to provide the civilians with. Everyone is slowly losing the will to revolt. All the heroes and the people of the city could loudly hear him as he was speaking. The people became so sad at the unfortunate incident that Choi Young-wook apologized and told them to make sure that bastard lives for another chance at fighting. This is the best they can do at the moment. He begged for them to protect him. He told them he entrusted them all to his care. Choi Young-wook remembered the day he was entrusted with everything, so he guessed his role was also to leave things behind. And then he activated the bomb attached to his body, and he exploded as the bomb blew him off. The hero of faith, Baek Hannah, felt everything was annoying until the very end. She called the servant of faith and asked how they proved their faith. The first servant decided to prove his faith by sacrificing his left arm, while the other chose to prove it by sacrificing his right arm, and instantly both arms were cut off. The hero of magic, Ma Yi-rin, asked Park Min-soo why he just stood doing nothing. She further told him he had no idea how much her blood boiled trying to listen to him giving orders. She cursed him, activated the sugar dust stream, and told him goodbye, "You fucking middle school syndrome lunatic." Park Min-soo stood still as the attack came towards him. Ma Yi-rin was on call talking with her mother about Ji-sam's birthday present. She already got Ji-sam a birthday gift and cake, not knowing her mom already got Ji-sam a birthday cake. Since they now have 2 cakes, Ma Yi-rin wants to try her luck if they will help her change the cake to macarons where they bought it. She hung up and was checking out the price of the cake. Someone told her to watch out for a box dropping from above, but she was carried away. She stood looking at the world she had returned to after worrying about her family burning to the ground because of a great evil. The heroes facing situations were given 2 choices, to fight for their lives or to join the crazies. Ma Yi-rin, who had no courage or any sort of bravado, ran away from both of these choices. Ma Yi-rin got something to eat for her mom and little sister, but they both rejected it. She got angry and told her mother to shut up and eat so she could heal and they could progress faster. She told her sister, Ma Yi-sam, that it's not time to be picky with food, but her sister replied that the food tastes bad. 3 soldiers showed up at their backs and asked if she was Ma Yi-rin. She told the police she had just cut in line and asked if the military police needed to be involved. She further told them they did not have anything better to do and that was why they had come to meet her. The soldier explained that the military police don't get involved very easily unless there is a hero among the refugees. Ma Yi-rin was surprised to hear the word hero. The man with the soldiers read a file about Ma Yi-rin. The file says, Ma Yi-rin, 20 years old and in grade 12, was missing for a year before the hero incident and then continued to remain missing until 3 months after. For the entire period, Ma Yi-rin was missing. She left absolutely no trace and returned completely fine. She asked them what if she was missing, and if someone goes missing, does that make someone automatically heroes? The man answered yes and showed her the picture of her that was taken about 10 days ago. Due to the United Forces misfire, the refugees in the area were going to be butchered like cattle. At that moment, an unknown identity assumed to be a hero disengaged the explosives only to disappear, and then Ma Yi-rin emerged from the building that the unknown identity disappeared to. Ma Yi-rin told them it could be a mere coincidence. If they are the government, they should investigate properly with reasonable proof instead of just using fiction as proof. The man pointed a gun at her and told her whether it was fiction or not. He would determine based on this. He shot the gun up and said it was blank, but it seems I have got quite the catch. Ma Yi-rin told the man she knew he was probably going to ask why she was not fighting against them. She explained that a clear difference of strength exists between the heroes. As far as Ma Yi-rin was concerned, a hero becomes the slightest bit stronger than the demon king they defeat. So, the demon king's level determines the level of strength for the hero. She explained that the demon king that Kim Min-soo defeated was stronger than the one she defeated, changed her mind from completing the statement, and further explained that all the heroes that fought against Kim Min-soo died and the demon kings he fought were all defeated. She rephrased the story and told him that the fight started off with an unfair advantage on Min-soo's end. The man asked if she chose to run away without caring if the world was being destroyed. She tried to prove the man wrong that she did not mean to run away. As they had escaped that day, her mother became ill and her sister cried every day because she had been separated from her friend. Ma Yi-rin does not want to die in the whole mess because no one will take care of her family. She voiced out that the fact that she was a hero doesn't mean she has the courage. The man told her there is a way to save the world even if she does not die. Ma Yi-rin's face lit up immediately, and she asked if he was talking about Kim Min-soo's forces. The man told her that since they don't know exactly when she was missing, if she plays it off like she just returned and exploded, that may convince them, and it is a way to prove that she was evil. Since where they are is an unimportant military base, the man told him to destroy the place. That way, Kim Min-soo's party will not suspect her. He explained further that he didn't expect her to do the task for free. In exchange, he promised to evacuate her family to international waters, assign soldiers to protect them, and treat her mother's illness as well. Ma Yi-rin tried telling him they would not be able to kill Kim Min-soo even though she did the task. The man told her he did not tell her to do anything rash, but to be only their hidden card, or when they discovered a method to destroy Kim Min-soo, she would be their trump card that would protect that method when the time came. Ma Yi-rin remembers how they had trusted her the whole time, even at Park Young-soo's dying moment. Although she knew it was shameless to talk about courage when she had been running away this whole time, she decided to face Park Min-soo and show him she was a hero too. Park Young-soo was stabbed 117,689 times, sliced 57,991 times, and fainted 297 times. The number of times he nearly died was 13, he has 84 scars, and the number of enemies he struck down was 1,744. Day by day, he overcame these struggles for his dead family, but to him, he could not understand the essence of everything since he could not even protect his family and couldn't take revenge. Even when he used everything he could, including the legendary spear and even the Demon King's power, he could not defeat Park Min-soo. Park Young-soo was despondent after setting his emotions ablaze and overcoming his limits through training, but what he obtained was only wounding his opponent, making him bleed a few drops, and angering him. Young-soo lost hope and wished to just die. Since there was no other way to defeat Park Min-soo, he saw the moment as the end, but deep down he didn't want to lose his second life to him. He apologized to his dead family and the citizens who see him as their only hope. Jang Soo-min went to where he was and put her finger in between his teeth. He opened his eyes. During that moment, Ma Yi-rin came and carried him. They flew up together, leaving only Soo-min there. Ma Yi-rin told him to put pressure on his wounds and not lose consciousness. While taking him, the hero of Reformation, Lee Jae-ram, saw them. He felt the traitor, the hero of magic, Ma Yi-rin, fleeing with the hero of spear, Park Young-soo, and he launched an attack on them so they would not leave alive. Ma Yi-rin, who had already seen the attack launch towards them, increased her speed, and even with that, they narrowly escaped. They fell to the ground, and before the explosion, Ma Yi-rin used her body to cover Young-soo. After the first attack, the hero of the Iron Arm and the hero of martial arts began their attacks. All the wounded soldiers stood up to make sure Park Young-soo lived. The heroes could not understand if they had eaten something or if something was wrong with them. They could not comprehend the fact that the humans, who were once so deathly afraid of fighting, were now diving headfirst into their deaths as if they had forgotten what death was. They began risking their lives for a mere moment on a hope that was not even certain. A man entered a car in order to stop the hero of Iron Arm, but he stood in front and asked the man to stop getting in his way as he was just a small fry to him as he began punching and pushing, trying to destroy the car. A soldier set the bomb on fire, and they exploded together. Their great sacrifice opens up an escape route for Park Young-soo and Ma Yi-rin. Only when they had finally escaped did the hero of vampires, Hong Warang, stop them and ask how long they thought they could keep running. He cut his palm and used the blood as an arrow. He shot the arrow, and Ma Yi-rin blocked it with her back. Ma Yi-rin knew getting out of the place would not be easy. The place they first got through to come down to where they are is where Kim Min-soo and Baek-hana are having their own fight, and the gaps on the ceiling are too dangerous to go through because of the falling debris. Ma Yi-rin thought of how they would get out because she knew they would be caught if they kept flying around in circles, trying to escape the attack. One of the Reconstruction government showed a way for Ma Yi-rin to pass, and she did. The hero of vampires, Hong Warang, almost caught up with them but lost because of the Reconstruction government members. On the BIS platform, the citizens were shouting to know how the hero, Park Young-soo, is doing. One of the Reconstruction government members updated the other that the hero of magic is being led to them with ease. Hearing that, the other Reconstruction member instructed him to gather all the available troops in the shelter and go to the location at once. The hero of Iron Arm, the hero of vampires, and the hero of martial arts kept pursuing without turning back, determined to catch the hero of magic. The Reconstruction government had the challenge of using the elevator passage as an exit because they were concerned about how the refugees would react. If they pressure them towards death, they could have a riot on their hands, and it could turn into the worst-case scenario. The lady promises to regulate it and put the man in charge of taking care of the hero. She went ahead to address the people. She explained that they have only one last elevator that is capable of operating at the moment, and after one more use, they will cut the lines to the elevator to provide the hero of revolt, Park Young-soo, an escape route. The people began showing their annoyance immediately, asking if they don't deserve to live because they are strong enough. The lady further explained that if they went up to ground level without the hero of revolt, there would be absolutely nothing to protect them, including her. They would all die. To her, death does not have to be a means to an end, but a hope that will continue. If the hero of revolt is to survive, and if they let him live, they would have a shot at creating a future that is not destroyed by the hero of sword. She begged them to please give up their lives and fight with them. The word changed their minds as one of the citizens sacrificed to give up his place to a child, and within a few minutes, others began giving up their place as well. They all stood back to protect the hero of revolt, and as Ma Yi-rin saw all this from afar, she became very surprised. The last 300 people in the shelter gave up their lives to earn 5 minutes. On a deserted island in Indonesia, Ma Yi-rin successfully dropped off Park Young-soo to check him out. The lives of 50,000 people were sacrificed for a single person. Park Young-soo opened his eyes and was welcomed by a lady with a horn. White House in the USA, Eastern Time 1347, a meeting was being held, and a man stood explaining to others that all communication channels with the Korean Reconstruction government they had supported had been terminated. The 7,000 military personnel they had, the ministers, vice ministers, and high-ranking officials that totaled 217 people, and the 40,000 citizens they were protecting, all of the Koreans inside the shelter are assumed dead at the moment. Mr. President spoke, saying they don't hesitate to support them, from the construction of the shelter to their defense system designs. He asked if the heroes are the cause of the event. The scene where all 8 heroes are gathered was played. They believe if the heroes were that many, then everything would probably be wiped out in an instant. These people holding the meeting had utilized every possible method to protect them to the best of their ability, and they wonder if their intelligence is lagging behind. Another man spoke, telling them that unlike the hero's previous attacks, there was an unseen factor. A hero, Park Young-soo, appeared opposing the hero of the sword. The video was also played. Another man asked about the source of the information to be sure the story was not cooked. The man explained that the information was sent to them by a Korean agent who put his life on the line, and all the data recovered has been found to be real. The lady with the horn assisted Ma Yi-rin in carrying Park Young-soo. When they got to a certain destination, Ma Yi-rin slept off immediately while the lady attended to Young-soo. Seeing how tired she was, the lady threw a yellow seed on the ground, and it germinated a tree. With the tree, a bed was made for both Young-soo and Ma Yi-rin. The tree began glowing, and Park Young-soo spoke, asking why the lady revived him when he lost against the hero of the sword. He felt bad that he couldn't save or protect anyone because he was so weak. He remembered Soo-min and Choi Young-wook, and he was sad that everyone must be dead. The lady asked her not to talk like that. It's not like he could not protect them, it's because they protected him. He saw the people who had made a great sacrifice and Soo-min touching him, but when he opened his eyes, it was the lady alongside some people he saw. The people in the USA were still having their discussion, and they suspected Park Young-soo and Ma Yi-rin were in Indonesia. They concluded on tracking their location to be sure, and they began thinking about what to do since there are over 5 million Korean refugees that have moved to the U.S. and the collapse of Korea will spread through the main media channels soon. The citizens will be in great turmoil if such a thing happens, and not just the citizens, but other nations that have taken comfort in knowing this hasn't occurred to them will be distressed after hearing the fall of a nation. People began giving their opinion that they must fire all missiles and arms and attack them now. The army man told Mr. President they should make a preemptive strike. That caused an argument as another man stood up and asked that if they deploy more troops, what about the opposition from the citizens? That cannot make them deploy more troops. The army man explained that the nation has been destroyed, which means they no longer have a government. It is also assumed that the majority of their citizens have died, so they must make their last resort while all the heroes are still gathered. The new nuclear weapon, God's Hammer, targets coordinates 1085-27695, and that is a launch order from the president. The hostility of the world targets one person's evil intent. A lot of people were killed, and many dead bodies were seen around the street. One of the Reconstruction government members was still alive but injured. Park Min-soo met the man and told him to tell people when he gets out that the hero of the spear, Park Young-soo, has died and there is no more hope for them. He should tell them to watch the world end as they curl up on the ground, then he will let him live. The man began crying. He told Park Soo-min he knew he was scared that the hero who fought against him would come back or that the people would keep revolting against him with hope. He further told him he felt relieved that Min-soo was nothing like a god and was just a human, just like the rest of them. The statement got Park Min-soo angry, and he beheaded the man. The hero of return, Lee Sung-joon, apologized for barging in on his fun. He came to tell him the shelter has pretty much been cleared and the other heroes are waiting for him. The hero of faith, Baek-han, told him to take his time venting his anger, as they would wait till he was done. The hero of return asks what they will do next since they have destroyed the Reconstruction government and the population has decreased. Park Min-soo answered that they will follow the hero of the spear since there are still countless numbers of people who have high hopes for him. His presence alone is a denial of the world he created. The hero of return answered that they might not only face the Koreans, but the entire world. The president in the USA was giving a speech, he explained, explaining that as of that day, Eastern Time, their allied nation, the government of Korea, had been destroyed by the heroes. For a long period of time, their ally in loyalty and the terrorist group of heroes that are beyond their comprehension were to protect the safety of the world, to no longer waste the lives of any more military troops being deployed, and to save their families from the sorrow of losing them. He explained that they have decided to take the worst course of action on their end. The United States of America has decided to deploy the weapon that has been sealed for half a century, the nuclear missile, to all of the refugees and immigrants whose motherland is in Korea. The president hoped the people would understand their decision. The heroes were watching the president's speech, and the hero of return knew it could not be helped. The people would try to act that way. The hero of Iron Arm showed the others the image of the missile that was heading their way. He told them it would take around 2 minutes until the missile reached their coordinates. The hero of martial arts replied that if the missile was that close, even if they shot them down, they would be bombed. The hero of the vampire felt the hero of the Iron Arm should be able to do something since he thought the Iron Arm had total control over the air network. The hero of the Iron Arm responded that he didn't calculate explosions being shot from satellites since the people suffered a lot from their intel being raided and they had hid the missile this whole time. The hero of Iron Arm laughed and told them not to worry about anything since they have the greatest reset button. He wished the hero of return good luck on the reset, but the hero claimed he wanted to hear the opinion of Park Min-soo before going ahead with the reset. Since Kim Min-soo was obsessed with the land and with tying it down, since the world he wanted to destroy only applied to Korea at that time, the hero of return wanted to see if he was really ready to face the world and if he had changed in his opinion. The hero of return told them they were going to destroy the world once he was back, and the hero of Iron Arm then told him that when he revived, they should inform him that they shot it from the satellites so he could hack them. The hero of faith cannot wait for the fireworks, as she wants to see what will happen to her when she gets hit by the nuclear missile. They all sat waiting for the missile to start, and suddenly it began dropping heavily like heavy rainfall. The hero of return faced Park Min-soo to confess since he would be losing his memory after resetting. He confessed that he was the one who killed his parents, and he turned into a skeleton immediately. The confession angered Min-soo, who tried to attack him, but before he could do that, everything exploded. A lot of people died and were cut into pieces due to the explosion. A guy was seen in the computer room complaining to a man behind him about writing another email in English. He asked the man to help him with the writing, not knowing the man just sat with a headset plug in his ear but had died. Looking back, a lot of corpses were also on the floor. The people prepared the God's Hammer key, disarmed the launch device, and stayed on standby until the last command was received from their country. One of the men asked if God's Hammer had been officially used, but the man replied that it was their first time trying it, so they did not know the effect, and after that, a large explosion happened. The man continued explaining that God's Hammer is the most precise and effective weapon to annihilate in the history of mankind, and the other man grinned, saying they were the first to witness it. After a while, the eagle gave them the instruction to launch the attack. After pressing the button, they felt the attack was not launched, and before they knew what was happening, the hero of Reformation appeared on the screen and thanked them for the weapon. The U.S. president was giving a speech when they all ran outside, checking through the window. They saw that the missile had been sent back to their country, and everything exploded. On that day, 16 missiles from God's Hammer were launched all over the world: Paris, France, Beijing, China, New Delhi, India, and Cairo, Egypt. It was the day the world came to a close. On seeing the news about Washington being on fire, the U.S. Minister of Transportation, Buck Hines, became restless. The guard had to assist him while he was going outside. He received the bad news that the president, vice president, congressman, and chairman were dead, due to the fact that God's hammer, along with all the other military satellites and radars, were hacked at the same time and that they were unable to react on time. To rephrase, all capitals and their cabinets were blown away. The guard told the Minister of Transportation he was able to avoid the chaos thanks to his lecture in Michigan. The guard further told him he was the sole leader of the nation from then on. As they moved outside, an old man asked him to place his right hand on the Bible as they would start the oath of delegation for him to become president. Buck Hines was inside his office when two soldiers came in with a briefcase. They told him they had brought the nuclear briefcase. All available nuclear weapons, their locations and launch points, as well as their launch devices, are loaded on them. They showed him a particular briefcase that contained the direct hotline to the hero of Reformation. The new president was surprised to hear that because he knew the hero of the Reformation to be a terrorist in Korea and the source of all the nuclear terrorists. He could not understand why they needed to have a hotline with him. The hero of Reformation first appeared 100 years ago in Europe and was the grand hero that ended the First and Second World Wars. In the 20th century, he turned the U.S. into the greatest world power and into the leading nation of scientific and technological discovery. Every 100 years, a hero is conscripted based on random coordinates. A group of people are seen on the floor while some are beating them with whips. The people are being treated badly. In the working room, a lady was sleeping when suddenly light shone over her, and she met herself in another place, with a robot in front of her. The robot welcomes her as the hero. The few heroes that defeat the Demon King change the material world they live in. Some become the lead characters in a myth, some become emperors who bring order during troubled times, and some become pioneers in scientific innovation. And they continue to stay alongside in the development of humankind, as the hero of Return narrates to the other heroes. The hero of Vampire asked if he was saying there can be heroes outside of Korea. The hero of Iron Arm finds it hard to believe, but he laughs it off, saying it does not matter. He is immortal, even if truly there were heroes. The hero of Faith says that there are heroes who have lived 100 years, like she in particular, and if they are beings who have transcended being human, like the hero of Reformation, and because heroes who are not humans may be alive, that is why the hero of Return gave them his hypothesis. Silicon Valley, California, USA. The president called Einstein, Tesla, Newman, and the founders of Silicon Valley. The robot replied that the people Mr. President mentioned are its alter egos. The robot told Mr. President that he must come because he needs to eliminate the heroes who caused the nuclear terror. The president explained he was doubtful when he wanted to seek the robot out, but thinking back on all the innovations the robot had brought, he thought something could work out. The robot, hero of reconciliation, Marie Stevenson, explained the previous president did not want to rely on a non-human like him. He wished for humankind to change the world based on their own abilities, which the robot agreed with, but the robot made a promise not to disappoint the new president as he had sought his help. The president asked why the robot wanted to save the nation and why it was different from other heroes in Korea. The robot answered simply, "The nation embraced me, that was the only reason I needed." Hero of redemption, Marie Stevenson. In the Vatican State, in the Vatican basement, the Pope and his members stood in the basement. One of them asked the Pope what was in the object they were carrying. At first he merely thought it was one of the relics. The Pope answered that in the 14th century, the last missionary to have officially performed a miracle and the last hero of faith, Saint Damian Arcadius, was amicable towards humans. In Sakha Republic, Russia's Lemukon, the soldiers were seen knocking, and a man who is the hero of glaciation opened the door. A soldier asked if he was veteran Ivan Pushkin, and he replied that he was correct. Immediately after the three soldiers saluted him, one of the soldiers began, "Ivan Pushkin, the hero of our nation whose name won't be mentioned in our history, our nation needs your help." The heroes from the past are brought to the stage. The judgment of God befell across the world, and the world government lost order as their weapon against the heroes. As domestic sentiments became restless due to radiation exposure from the nuclear bomb, the idea of forming an allied troop to stop the heroes' advances was foiled. The disaster thus. The sky of Los Angeles, west coast of the United States, decompresses 70% of the continent buster mode, completely free from the control of order. In the sky of the Suez Canal, Egypt, the hero of Vampire showed an extra-sized structure made from the blood of 200,000 people. The god of iron blood, appeared, headed towards each of their destinations. Sky of the Mediterranean Sea, southern Italy, a hero of faith was seen saying hallelujah alongside the reigning men with her, all the while each possessing different sorrows. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Pyongyang Defense Line, and hero of the sword, Kim Min-soo, were seen looking at the armor tanks placed on the cliffs of the hills. An army man rushed into an office to inform the supreme leader that Kim Min-soo had arrived. The supreme leader angrily banged the table after hearing that the first line of defense was defeated. He asked how Kim Min-soo was able to wake up the minefield with nothing on his body. The soldier replied that the hero is not a human, and without any tricks, he just walked straight up. The supreme leader informed the soldier that Russia and China would not leave them that easily, not after being their buffer for so long. Out of annoyance and panic, he bit his finger and continued saying that he heard rumors of the same damned hero in Russia as well, and until they dispatched him, the infantry, the tanks, and even the nuclear weapon that they poured blood money into would stall for as long as possible. Kim Min-soo still stood looking at the armor tank when bullets began pouring like rain towards him. The shooting began, and everywhere was covered with dust. One of the soldiers in the armor tank opened the upper part of the tank to check if Kim Min-soo was dead. He looked through the binoculars, and to his surprise, Kim Min-soo was carried by the blessings of Goddess Seraphine. Kim Min-soo took his sword while the soldier told him to be ready for another bombardment. Kim Min-soo activated the daybreak mode and sent fire towards the tanks. The southern area of Pyongyang was destroyed. Kim Min-soo kept destroying the place as he walked, and he repeated the process over and over until the only being to stop him appeared. Kim Min-soo stood face-to-face with the hero of glaciation, Ivan Pushkin, who asked him if he was the kid who put the world back in hell. In the year 1943, in the February Nazi National Assembly Hall, a soldier brought urgent news from the eastern front lines to the general. The general, who had been nervous all since, asked if they had won the fight and captured Stalingrad, only to receive the bad news that they had lost the battle and the majority of the Panzer Army had been captured. The general got furious and explained that the 6th and 17th Elite Infantry Guards, even the 1st and 4th Panzer Armies alongside the hero of Golem, Jonas, and hero of Sword, Siegfried, the previous heroes before, Kim Young-soo and Park Young-soo, became heroes, had been deployed as well. He continued, all of Germany's strongest forces were dispatched in the battle. He wondered what could have stopped the undefeatable army. On the battleground, the hero of Sword asked the hero of Glaciation if he had no ambition and why he sided with the Order as a hero. Ivan Pushkin replied that he had ambitions. He asked the hero of Sword if that was all it took to end the war a day earlier and send his comrades into the embrace of their family. He cut off his head instantly. The old man just wanted a world without war. Back to the moment. Kim Min-soo asked Ivan Pushkin if he was a hero, and he replied that a simple human would not stand alone before a monster like him. Kim Min-soo raised the sword, but Ivan Pushkin told him to wait as he wanted to ask him something before they began the fight. He asked what his desire was and why he was so willing to cause this much misery and set the world alight. Kim Min-soo replied he did not know at the moment. All he wanted was to fight Ivan Pushkin. Seeing that there was no proper reason behind the massacre, Ivan Pushkin spit out an ice-familiar land tortoise from his mouth, then went ahead with summoning the permanent frost. Ivan Pushkin used the frost so Kim Min-soo would not be able to use his abilities to the fullest and most of his energy would be used to constantly recover his frostbitten body. He decided to end everything before Kim Min-soo adjusted to the cold energy. After attacking him with the ice-familiar tortoise, he spit out the ice-familiar black bear. The bear punched Kim Min-soo, and blood splashed out of his mouth. He went ahead and spit out the familiar seagull flock, and the bird began striking after biting and leaving nothing. Ivan Pushkin looked ahead and saw the hero of the sword standing fully prepared. Kim Min-soo raised up his sword and attacked with fire. Ivan Pushkin was beheaded by Kim Min-soo. A mage will always have the upper hand in a battle against a swordsman since they are able to attack from a much greater distance using their supreme range. Furthermore, their utilization is endless, so it's hard for the opponent to recognize their pattern, but Kim Min-soo had already realized those points since he had already experienced and won a battle against the hero of sorcery. He used his uniquely exceptional defense and let himself become vulnerable to the opponent's attacks. Kim Min-soo gave the impression that his attack range and speed were far lower than the opponent's, and when the opponent relaxed, he slashed their neck off with instantaneous explosive power. Before the corpse of Ivan Pushkin that signified his sure victory, Kim Min-soo felt something was out of place. He had the feeling something important was missing. For a hero that has survived longer than 100 years, this was a fight without any of its tricks, experience, or dignity, and finally, the suspicion soon turned into a crisis. Ivan Pushkin's head was cut off, but there was no blood. Suddenly, Ivan Pushkin appeared at Min-soo's front, leaving the lifeless body on the floor. He activated the ice-familiar Matryoshka and stabbed Min-soo. Ivan Pushkin knew the heroes of the sword always obsessively aim for the opponent's head, and when they attack, their counters are too obvious. Ivan Pushkin spit out the familiar ice giant squid. Kim Min-soo can feel the chill spreading from his heart, and as it's inside his body, the goddess's blessing is useless. Blood starts oozing out from his eyes and mouth. If he drags it out any longer, he will be frozen solid. Ivan Pushkin spit out the ice-familiar humpback whale. Kim Min-soo has begun to rot due to frostbite, and again, Ivan Pushkin spit out the ice-familiar silver fong. He knew the former hero of the sword, Siegfried, had ended at that point when they fought. Kim Min-soo knew in 30 seconds his body would soon cease its activity, so he split the sword of Durant and killed the silver fangs. Ivan Pushkin saw that he surpassed the previous hero of sword and decided to play with him until the next 30 seconds his body would freeze. He spit out familiar undead frost. Soldier-like creatures were formed with the previous hero of the sword as the lead, alongside the hand sculpture of the golem hero. The 30 seconds that will determine the outcome of the battle have begun. The boy's family lived in poverty, so he sold his body to the war in exchange for 3 months' worth of flour for his family. In 1916, on the eastern front lines of World War I, the boy soon felt the horrors of the war engulf his entire body. The war was so tough that the boy wished for the war to stop. As he called for people to stop the war at the corner he sat, he wished to live. All he wanted was just peace, and if he is left alive, he will definitely bring unprecedented chaos into the world. Back to Ivan Pushkin and Kim Min-soo. Kim Min-soo cut the soldiers in half. He was faced with many things: endless soldiers armed with swords and guns, the hero of golems that control air supremacy, the hero of swords that rivaled his destructive power, and lastly, the freezing chills that were devouring his body. He fell to the ground and felt as if he were playing a hopeless chess game. He stood up suddenly and felt more people should have the feeling of returning after abandoning everything, the despair after eventually realizing that nothing is left, that sorrow. All Kim Min-soo wanted was to be understood. He wanted to release the anger and sorrow that he had bottled inside him, so he became a complete monster and killed the soldiers mercilessly. Ivan Pushkin decided to cool down Kim Min-soo's head as he jumped and touched his head from behind and made it an absolute zero temperature. Ivan Pushkin began bleeding from the nose as he became weak. He knew he should not be doing things like that at his age. Ivan Pushkin began spitting out blood as he begged for forgiveness, and Kim Min-soo had totally frozen. Not long enough, some heroes appeared at the scene, and Kim Min-soo suddenly came back to his senses. Greater despair comes up to the invited stage. The hero of faith was seen with wings in the sky alongside her men, as the sky was also filled with the helicopter trying to launch an attack. When people no longer have hope, the little possibilities and achievements made by heroes in a completely hopeless situation are called miracles. The hero of faith feels the world is heartless for sending a missile to them when they are completely unarmed. When 2 of her men met her, they wanted to witness the beautiful miracle, and the helicopter began turning into flowers. When the attackers saw the hero of faith had 0 damage, they asked for additional strikes and backups. The hero of faith was untouched and turned the missiles into flowers. The launcher could not understand what kind of monster the hero of faith was, so they decided to strike again. One of the attackers told the second they would strike again, but it seems the other could not hear him, and not long after, petals started flowing into the helicopter. The hero of faith asked her martyrs if that wasn't beautiful, and she explained that humans can become as beautiful as flowers. Is what the hero of faith is doing at the moment called a miracle? If not, what word could be used to replace that? Must all miracles be good-natured? Did the word miracle even imply goodwill in the first place? The army gathered to have a meeting, and while one of them was telling them that the mobilized Air Force and Marines seemed to be completely annihilated, another asked how they were so powerless and how they could face the miracle. A young child, the hero of faith, St. Damien Arcadius, appeared and replied that that was not a miracle, and he would show them what a true miracle looked like. The people asked him who he was and where he came from. Moving to the front, he told them he had expected they would not remember who he was, but they should believe in him that he would win. Damien Arcadius, the soul saint, appeared in the form of a young child when the Black Plague ravaged the lands. the small miracle that sealed himself alongside all plagues because of his great love for mankind. The towns he visited flourished with milk and honey for the orphans. The hero of faith appeared in the sky with a wing, and when the hero of faith, Bikana, who had turned missiles into flowers, saw that there truly existed another hero of faith just like she was, she greeted the hero of faith who appeared like a young child. Damien Arcadius told her the people around her are stricken with fear, and she remembers when she sat in a corner crying and a man asked her, "Are you stricken with fear, Hannah?" The hero of faith, Hannah Beek, remembered and cut the men beside them, and they turned into the falling angel Mertaniel, who had several heads. As the falling angel launched an attack, Damien Arcadius stood in front and blocked the attack.